Have you been denied or cut off from long-term disability? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from DisabilityRights.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Hello there, and welcome to another week, Ask a Lawyer Disability Law here on CP24. My name's John Scholes. I'm simply the host. I got the easy gig for the next half hour. Joining us momentarily on screen here in studio will be James Fireman from DisabilityRights.ca, where we shatter the myths and misconceptions, and we get into the weeds of disability law because it can be a very confusing topic, but we're here to help you, so rest assured you'll learn something at least at the end of 30 minutes. I'll give you some contact information like we always do right off the top. Consultations are free, so pick up a phone at that or only a chat with James and his team, 1-855-821-5900. Ask at DisabilityRights.ca. Main topic, we always have one. We'll do that a little later in the half hour. The top 5 things you should never tell your adjuster. This is fascinating, so stay tuned for that. James will unpack those very shortly, but we always start out the show, James, by asking what you basically do for a living, and a week that was something cool that happened to you. That, well, maybe not cool, but something that happened this week for with you, pal. What's going on?
Well, thanks a lot, John. So I've been doing this for 20 years now, injury and disability law, and it is really complicated. There is a lot to know, and I'm learning all the time, as we all are, and as we all should be. If I were to ever get into an accident or become disabled, I'm okay. I'm going to know what to do. But for the vast majority of people out there, when they become disabled and when they're not able to work, it's a problem. You're up against an insurance company, these billion-dollar corporations that do this all the time, and that can be really, really intimidating. And that is what we're here for. That's what we're here for if you're watching the show. If you want to get information, we have a website that is full of FAQs. And if you want a free consultation, you give us a call. And it is absolutely free. Whatever stage you are at in the disability insurance process, whether you're applying, whether they're considering your application, if you've been approved benefits and you're not sure what's going on, or if you've been cut off or denied. We're here to help, and there is a lot to know. So the example I want to give, you asked me about what's going on this week. I got a call from a lady named Leah. It's not a real name. But Leah called me last week, and she'd been in an accident about a year and a half ago, and she had a concussion. Since then, she's had dizziness, she's had fatigue, she's had pain all over her body, and she's had a lot of difficulty with her memory, with concentrating, cognitive issues. And these are things that you see a lot with people who have suffered with a concussion, as she had. She'd been diagnosed with a concussion. She was suffering from post-concussion syndrome. So she's off work, and she applies for short-term disability benefits, and she is approved, and she's paid for the entire 6 months. Then she applies for her long-term disability benefits. New insurance company, and her claim is denied. She's not sure what to do. She tries appealing. They say, no, there's just not enough there to support that you're disabled from work, even though her doctors all say that she can't work. She's got not just her GP, but she's got a neurologist, she's got a rheumatologist, and she's got 2 other treatment specialists that are all saying you cannot go back to work, and the insurance company still says, no, sorry. Even though you got STD, even though all of your doctors are saying you can't work, you're not entitled to benefits. So she's watching our show 2 weeks ago, and she sees you can call, get a free consultation. So she gives us a call. I spoke to her last week. She's got a very strong claim. And the reason I know that, by the way, is when you have support of all of your doctors, not just your GP, your specialists as well, your other treatment providers, I know that's going to be a strong claim. I know that if this were ever in front of a judge, and they almost never get to court, but if it ever got that far, a judge is going to listen to your treating doctors over what an insurance company says is the case. That's almost always going to be true. And certainly when you have the level of support that Leah has, I know it's going to be a strong case. And as it turns out, she got her concussion in a car accident, which was less than 2 years ago, and she wasn't doing anything with that, and she's been off work. And so we're going to be able to help her with that as well. So this is really fortuitous that she happened to be watching the show and gave us a call. And that's all it takes, just one free phone call, and we're up and running.
James did just mention, of course, watching us on air here on TV on CP24. You also have the option of catching our radio show. We do them kind of across the country, pretty much. DisabilityRights.ca to find a radio station near you. We invite you to call into the hour-long show and ask your questions as well. We like to play some of them back here on this show because, again, it's for learning, right? So some insight provided by all of our listeners and our viewers. So let's get to that first phone call from one of our radio shows. Listen up.
I was sick, and I used up my short-term disability, and my insurance denied my first long-term disability. Even after I had my doctor's notes, my psychiatrist's note, and so on, they said it wasn't sufficient information, which whatever question they asked, my doctors fulfilled that. They'd send them all the information. So now they declined me for the second time, and I had a meeting. They said, we're going to get back to me. Meanwhile, it's been over a year and a half that I haven't got paid. I said, I'm running out of money. I said, I had to sell some things to make some payments.
So this is really interesting because it's very similar to the lady that called me, Leah, that called me last week. Very similar situation. This gentleman was paid short-term disability, has support of all of his doctors saying that he can't work, and yet long-term disability insurance company is saying, no, you can go back to work. I can tell off the bat, if you've got the support of your treating doctors, you're very likely going to have a strong case to challenge the insurance company's decision. What I'm bumping on in this call is that it's not just once, it's twice, which means he's gone through the appeal process. And for virtually anybody who's involved in the disability insurance process, the appeal is a waste of your time. You are just asking the insurance company to reconsider their decision, but they have no incentive to do that. They're in the business of making money, and they make money by cutting off claims as soon as they can. And once they have a justification for doing that, it's very unlikely they're going to change their mind. Why do they offer you the ability to appeal? Well, there's two reasons. One, if you go the appeal route, from the insurance company's perspective, it means you're not hiring a lawyer, and that means that they don't have to be reasonable. They still control the process. But two, if they drag their heels long enough and you don't do anything about it, you're going to be out of time. You only have 2 years from the date that they deny your claim or cut off your benefits to bring a lawsuit. If you don't do it within those 2 years, you're out of luck. Nothing that you can do. Even if you call us and we bring it the next day, you're not going to be able to bring your claim, and the insurance company isn't going to listen to you anymore. So that's what's going on here. It's been a year and a half. Thankfully, there's still enough time, and we can rectify that.
Excellent phone call. We appreciate you and listening to the radio show as well. You can always do that again, DisabilityRights.ca. Let's take a short break, get into that main topic, top 5 things you should absolutely not tell your insurance adjuster. That is on the other side as we continue more Ask a Lawyer Disability Law right here on CP24.
Do you have questions about your employment law rights? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from employmentlawyer.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
All right, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer Disability Law on CP24. John Scholes, James Fireman here as well from DisabilityRights.ca. Always encourage you to reach out to James with your questions. And if you need a consultation, that's free of charge. The phone call right there, 1-855-821-5900. Back that up with an email. How about that? Ask@DisabilityRights.ca. There's also the QR code there as well. It is main topic time on the show. We have one every week. This week, James, it's a good one. It is the top 5 things you should never tell your insurance adjuster. Let's get right into these. Number 1, that you're generally feeling better than you really are. What do you mean?
Well, I think a lot of people don't want to be seen as a complainer. I think that's what's at the heart of this. People don't want people thinking that they're always complaining or whining about this, that, or the other thing, and that carries over into situations where it ought not to. If you're talking to your insurance adjuster, you want to be very straightforward, very factual. Do not be a hero. This isn't the time to minimize what's going on. Now, by no means am I suggesting that you should lay it on thick and embellish what's going on either. The medical records are going to show what the situation is, and just stick to the facts. Stick to how you are doing. Talk about what's going on that day, in the past week, or what have you, and listen to the questions that you're being asked and answer them as simply as possible.
Next thing you should number 2, James, is this: that you're not complying with treatments because you've simply given up.
So this is not just a legal issue. In fact, more importantly, this is a medical issue. When your doctors are telling you that you should comply with this treatment, take this medication, you ought to do it. And that goes without saying. I'm not here to give anybody medical advice, but if your doctor is giving you medical advice, you should take it. Now, that doesn't mean that all treatment is going to be effective. And in some cases, you can have a negative reaction to treatment. You can have a bad reaction to medication. And I'm not suggesting that simply because your doctor has prescribed a treatment or medication that you have to complete that treatment if it's having a negative impact. But if that is the case, you shouldn't just stop it on your own. Go back to your doctor. Talk to your doctor about the issues that you're having. And if they're significant, your doctor will almost certainly tell you to do something else, prescribe a different medication, find an alternative treatment for you. But whatever that is, that's between you and your doctor. What you don't want to do is just stop the treatment because you've decided it's not working anymore or you don't want to do it. That's a conversation you need to have with your doctor, with your treatment providers, to make sure the insurance company doesn't have anything in the records to point to that says, oh, well, you were prescribed this medication or you were told to comply with this treatment and you just stopped doing it. If that happens, that's giving the insurance company a really easy excuse to say you're not complying with the policy that says you have to undergo all reasonable treatment, therefore, we're cutting off your benefits.
Again, we're talking about the top 5 things you should never tell that insurance adjuster. Number 3, James, that you think you'll be ready to go back to work when your doctor says no. Again, trying to be the hero, right?
Yeah, and again, going back to work, I say this all the time, going back to work is a medical question. It's not a legal question, it's a medical question. You're off work because you are medically disabled. So when you are able to return to work is a medical question. And if you want to go back to work, you should not do that unless you have medical clearance from your doctors. If your insurance adjuster is saying, well, what do you think? When do you feel like you're going to be ready to work? The simple answer to that is, well, I'm off work because my doctors have told me that I shouldn't be working. And so I'll be ready to go back to work when my doctors say I'm ready to go back. That's the answer. It's a conversation that you have with your doctor. It's not a conversation that you have with your insurance adjuster or even with your lawyer. I'm not here to provide medical advice. I don't tell my clients when they should go back to work. When their doctors say they're cleared, they can go back to work.
The 4th thing you should never tell your adjuster is this, and this one kind of seems obvious, but I guess it's on the list, so we're going to talk about it. That is that you've taken up new hobbies or activities unrelated to your treatment.
So by no means am I suggesting with this that you shouldn't try to explore new things or do something to make your day more enjoyable or what have you. The only thing we're trying to get at here is that you don't want to provide the insurance company with free ammunition to try and shut down your claim. If there is a hobby that you want to do and it's something that an insurance company might construe as an activity that is in some way related to your employment, that would provide them with some argument that you're able to keep a schedule or you're able to do the types of duties and responsibilities that you have to do with whatever your job is, you want to make sure that you're going about that really carefully. Again, talk to your doctor first and make sure that whatever it is that you want to do is something that is approved. If it's something that your doctor is suggesting, no problem. But the point here is when you're talking to your insurance company, this isn't something that I would just offer up and say, hey, guess what? By the way, I started doing this. Now, the flip side of that, though, is by no means should anybody believe that I'm suggesting you should hide it from your insurance company. Not at all. If your insurance company asks you a direct question, you answer it honestly and truthfully. And if they're asking what activities you're doing, you should include that. But outside of those types of questions, there's no reason to offer up any information to your insurance company about your activities or, frankly, about anything else.
You know, I started this by saying these are really interesting. I think it's based on the 5th one. Kind of has me scratching my head. I know you'll clear it up, James, but the 5th one is what not to tell your adjuster, that you're struggling financially due to your claim denial. Why?
Yeah, so here what the concern is that you're going to get into litigation and they're going to recognize that because of your financial struggle, you are going to be in a position where whatever offer they put on the table, you're going to accept. I don't have as much of a problem with this, but I really wouldn't let my insurance company have a window into anything outside of what they're entitled to. And that's really just focused on your health and your work situation. Your financial situation, unless it is impacting on your health, isn't something that you need to discuss with your insurance company. Now, for people who have a mental health claim or component of mental health in their claim, particularly around anxiety, your financial situation could be contributing to that. It could be causing you significant anxiety, and that can be compounding the issues that are preventing you from working in the first place. Now, I'm not suggesting that you need to start trumpeting that to your insurance company, but it is something you're probably going to be speaking about with your medical care providers, whether it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist or therapist. That is something, if it is causing additional stress, that you would talk to them about. But there's no particular need to underscore that for your insurance company, because if you do down the road decide to litigate, to hire a lawyer and bring a claim, then it is something the insurance company will know in the back of their minds, and it could undercut what they might otherwise offer.
That cleared that up, which is why he's a lawyer and I am not. We got more of your questions coming up here momentarily. We'll get that as we continue Ask a Lawyer Disability Law here on CP24.
You've been denied or cut off from long-term disability. Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from DisabilityRights.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Welcome back. Ask a Lawyer, Disability Law, CP24. Let's get back into more questions. Every week, James and his colleagues get questions coming from everywhere. We like to cherry pick a few of them. Again, it's all for education. So, James, let's have the first of two questions. Listen up.
Can you stay on long-term disability if you're fired and given 2 weeks severance?
So this works out quite easily. So if you are already on long-term disability, you've already applied, you've been approved for benefits, and while you are receiving benefits, you get terminated by your employer, and you get this 2-week severance that's being asked here, there's no issue in terms of your right to continue receiving your disability benefits. Now, the severance for those 2 weeks that you're getting the severance is going to be an offset against your benefits. So it will reduce very briefly how much money you're getting from your insurance company, but you're still entitled to continue the claim. And for example, if you were to continue to be disabled for another 10 years, you would still be entitled to continue to receive benefits as long as you meet the definition of disabled under the policy, even though you've been terminated. Even if you've only applied and they haven't decided your case yet, and you get terminated, you're still entitled to the benefits. The key issue is if you have coverage, insurance coverage, on the date that your medical leave starts. That's when your insurance is crystallized. And as long as you had coverage at that point, whatever happens with your employment doesn't affect whether or not you're entitled to receive benefits, other than perhaps an offset if you get severance, but that's only for that period of time that you're receiving.
Your insurance company, employer, two separate things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One doesn't affect the other than that the severance is an offset against the money you're getting just for that period of time.
That is question one. Question number two is coming right up. Listen up.
Do you have to travel long distances for an insurance company arranged doctor's assessment?
So that's a really interesting question. And the answer is maybe, maybe not, as is often the case. So it really depends on your circumstances and where you are living and what type of medical treatment you're supposed to be receiving or what type of assessment the insurance company wants you to have. So for example, if you're living in a large city and the insurance company wants to have an orthopedic surgeon assess you. Orthopedic surgeons are readily available in large cities, even in smaller cities. And so there'd be no reason for an insurance company to insist that you go see a doctor in Timbuktu when there's one right next door. On the other hand, if you are living in a rural part of the province and your insurance company wants you seen by a very particular type of specialist that is rare to begin with, it may well be that you're going to have to travel to the city to do that. Now, if they want that, first of all, they have to show that it's reasonable, that there is a basis for this particular expert to be the one that they're going to use. And if that is the case, even if it is reasonable, it's still up to the insurance company to make sure that you're provided with adequate transportation. So they will have to arrange that for you if they are asking you to travel any kind of distance beyond your immediate vicinity.
You've heard some crazy ones like get on planes and go from there. I mean, it's a little nutty.
It does happen, and it really just depends on the circumstances. There are cases where it would be warranted. I'm not saying that in all situations having to travel is inappropriate. It really just depends on the specific issue that needs to be assessed and where you are living. And if it is reasonable in those circumstances, then so be it. Sometimes it is. But again, if that is the case, the insurance company is still going to have to make sure that you're that you get there. They're going to have to arrange for transportation, and sometimes it requires even staying overnight. They're going to have to pay for the hotel in that case.
Lots of good stuff there. We'll wrap up the show this week with an email on the other side of the break, so stay tuned for that. This is Ask a Lawyer, Disability Law, CP24.
Have you been denied or cut off from long-term disability? Ask a Lawyer is here for you. Each week, experts from DisabilityRights.ca answer your questions. Visit cp24.com/askalawyer and watch Mondays at 9 p.m. on CP24.
Welcome back. Ask a Lawyer, Disability Law, CP24. Reach out to James Fireman and his crew anytime, consultation free. There is the number, 1-855-821-5900. Email as well, ask@disabilityrights.ca. That is where I'm going now. Right now, James, here we go. I'm a manager earning $115,000 a year plus bonus. After my divorce, my lifelong depression worsened. My psychologist says I can't work, but my insurer threatens to cut me off if I don't return soon. That's a tough spot. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to what I've said, I think, twice already on this show. The decision on when to return to work is a medical decision. It's not a legal decision. It's not something that your insurance company is there to decide for you. This is something that you have to discuss with your doctor. And if your doctor, your psychologist, is telling you that you're not medically fit to return to work, then you have your answer. And the reality is you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if the insurance company is saying that you're going to be cut off if you don't return back to work, they're going to cut you off one way or the other. If you return to work, they're cutting you off. And if you don't, they're cutting you off. So make the decision that's going to be best for you medically.
Overall, make the phone call, and that's pretty much where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for tuning in, your contribution weekly to the show. Here's how you get a hold of James one more time and his team anytime. Consultations, again, are free. The phone number, 1-855-821-5900. Always email as well, ask@disabilityrights.ca. You can also use the website DisabilityRights.ca on its own to find a radio station near you anytime. Any more details, cp24.com/askalawyer, and we will catch you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.